At least until further notice, he keeps saying, go back.
Okay. I think we are streaming. For some reason, Zoom just quit unexpectedly on me and then restarted. A bit worse. Can you all hear me on Zoom?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, fine. All right, I'm going to turn the camera this way.
You're moving around a lot, though.
I don't have my computer with me because long story. My car doesn't work, so I didn't want to walk and carry my computer, so I'm using my phone. So, but now I think it's good. You can hear me, you can see me. We are up to, we are in the middle of Reish Mem Zayin. We were discussing whether or not it was permissible to send an Igeres, a letter with a non-Jew, before giving them the opportunity and the task before Shabbos. Perhaps this is a problem in some ways. You could pass them over there. So we talked about if there is a price that we pay, a fixed price, and there's no expectation that the job be done on Shabbos. I don't tell them it has to be there by a certain date that would require Shabbos to be a part of the travels. So then it is completely fine. If again, that's if you stipulated a fixed price on the job, because then we assume that the non-Jew is doing this. If they choose to do it on Shabbos, the delivery, the travel with the letter, that is a decision that they made for themselves, because I didn't necessarily need it there when they were traveling. It could have been on Sunday, it could have been on a Monday that they did this, and I would have been perfectly happy and fine with that. The other situation that we saw was what happens if there's no fixed price. So then we had another factor, which was, is there a postmaster in a fixed postmaster in that town or not? The idea being that if there is a postmaster, then all the letters in that town would by default just come to that person. Everyone knows when you arrive in Scarsdale, there is a place where you go, is a person you go to deliver your letter. The incoming mail goes to that person, and he or she would then distribute those letters around town in order to fulfill their, I guess, in order to make a salary and make a living. That was their profession. And then, so if you had a Beit Doar in that town, then it was okay to send the letter even on Erev Shabbos, as so long as, again, it could arrive in the town by the time that Shabbos comes in. Meaning, I've given the non-Jew an opportunity to do something in a perfectly mutter way. If they then choose to do it in a way, they choose to delay and go only on Shabbos, that's their choice. But I gave them a way to do it, when it was mutter, and there's no maris ayin concern, because the delivery is going to happen through the hands of the postman. The fear was, and I still struggle to hear this, but the fear was that if there was no Beit Doar in town and there was no fixed price, then what's happening is that the non-Jew is acting as a shaliach of the Jew, and is acting adaita de Yisrael, and is acting solely on behalf of the Jew, because they're not making any money as of now on this action. We will talk about the Shulchan Aruch talk about what if you say, oh, don't worry, I'll pay you, but you don't actually work out a price. The Shulchan Aruch is going to talk about what happens if it's I kind of assume in my head I'll pay you, but I never actually tell you I'm going to pay you. So we'll talk about those cases coming up in Bays and in Sif Bays. But the fear was here that people would see that this non-Jew is walking around this other town now, looking for where Yankel the Jew is, who the letter is addressed to, and people would see that would see the ksav of the letter, and they would see it's written in Hebrew, presumably in Hebrew letters, and they would be, oh, this is a Jewish letter, and the non-Jewish folks weren't writing letters in Hebrew. It was just not something that they were probably comfortable with. So if you had a letter that was written in the vernacular, in let's say here in America, right? So you have a letter written in English, so you can't tell who's a Jew, who's not a Jew based on the letter that they wrote. If they're putting pictures of a mug and David on the outside, that's like Ksav Yisrael. But if you have something that's Ksav Yisrael, the Mishnah Berurah said that's where there's a Marasayan concern. Now people will think that when they see this guy holding the letter with the Hebrew on it, people will assume a Jew. They might not even know which Jew, by the way, which is really fascinating. A Jew sent them to deliver this on Shabbos. Maybe even they wrote it. He writes here. Again, the fear was that the chashash was v'nikar ma'aseh Yisrael yomru b'Shabbos nasan olaholich. The Mishnah Berurah had said that it's sort of it's obvious that this is the work of a Jew, and that they said to this non-Jew to take it on Shabbos. Okay, that was what we saw last week. What's interesting, what I struggle with a little bit is that why is that letter going to be more likely to be seen if there was whether or not there was a price that was fixed? Meaning, why does katsatz matter if the fear is that people, if it's a Marasayan concern? So I'll read you what the Aruch HaShulchan wrote, that I don't fully grasp it, but this still bothers me about this sim. I don't understand why katsatz matters. But if the whole fear in the first place is that the ksav is ksav Yisrael, and somehow people will see. So I'll read this, and you can tear it apart as you see fit. I'm admitting I don't get it. He writes. I get the words. I don't understand the concept. He says here. He quotes. This is on the side of my. I can read it from the Aruch HaShulchan, but he quotes here on the Dirshu, the side stuff on the Mishnah Berurah. He quotes here. When you fix a price with a non-Jew, we don't have this concern. This concern apparently goes away. As the Aruch HaShulchan explained in Sif Gimel, which I guess I could open up over here. He says, I'm going to read the Aruch HaShulchan now. People will still say that the Jew gave it to you on Shabbos. The fact that it was stipulated as a price, actually, the people who are encountering this letter on Shabbos don't know that the Jew made a deal with the non-Jew. Here's a fixed price, and you take it whenever you want. People don't know that actually. Sorry. This is part of his answer. Since the kotzatz came in the since they made the fixed price, so the non-Jew is doing it on his own accord. Apparently, and I don't get this, he thinks that he's not going to tell anybody. He's going to put it in his mail carrier or in his backpack, and he won't tell anybody he's there to deliver the letter to Yankala, and he's not going to show the ksav to anybody.
Why would he show it to anybody?
Masha'en came below kotzatz. This is not the case when there's no stipulated price. The Asad is the Yisrael cover, because then it's clearly the malacha is being done on behalf of the Jew. So that way, when the guy could have gone during the weekdays, he doesn't want to go, but he decides, you know what, I have a Saturday off. It's easier for me to take your letter. So Yisaper lifnei kol sholech b'shlichuso shel Yisrael. He's going to tell everybody he's an agent of the Jew. And he will show them the letter. And then people will then say, "Oh, the Jew, this guy, whoever, Shmuel, who wrote the letter, is not such a from guy. He told him to go on Shabbos and deliver this." I couldn't tell you a logical explanation for why that makes sense.
It's so far-fetched.
It's a very far-fetched situation. I don't understand this. Yeah. I'm acknowledging it's very schwer. I don't get why this should be different. Why you're going to show? Why you're not going to show if you made a deal that you're going and so you're delivering it, and you're going to go around saying, "Don't worry, I'm my own shaliach because I died enough shake of it. I'm doing this on my own behalf." I don't fully get it. So know that this is a question that's sort of hanging here. Maybe there's a better answer to this question. The Mishnah Berurah offers no better answer. Our Shulchan's answer is what it is. But we'll have to just kind of. Michael.
There's two ways that the person who's giving paying the money can do it. One is if I'm giving it to Moshe and I'm paying him, I can divide the payment and say, okay, are you going to the post office? You give a certain amount. I give him the payment. He comes back. I give him another set of the payment. Same thing with maybe Shabbos. If I give him the money prior to Shabbos, that's okay. But when he goes, because sometimes the post office says, we're not sending it now, it's going to go out at a certain time. I don't know that he's doing that. Okay?
Right.
That's one point. Second point is, I'm hitting both points in one shot. So if Moshe is doing that for me, I say, okay, Moshe, here's the letter, or here's the money for the axe or whatever. Here's half. I'll give you the half after Shabbos, and that clears the whole thing.
Right. Okay.
You can understand it in today's terms. I don't think this would apply if there was a certain privacy requirement when you pay the price.
Correct. Yeah, I don't know why you can. Maybe.
Then you would talk about a privacy requirement, not a fixed price.
Right. Maybe by paying your I don't know, a daita denaf. Why is it that if it's a daita denaf, he's not gonna show people. He's not gonna. I hear what you're saying, but if you're going to guarantee that there's privacy, so then you circumvent this whole concern in the first place, where you're paying for. Anyways, you have privacy in the sense that, well, forget it today. Again, the whole thing. Once you put a stamp on it, the whole question is out the door. But everybody today knows, right? You didn't tell them to do, unless you paid for overnight. Aside from that, you didn't tell them to do it on Shabbos. No one's looking inside your letters anymore. Because they're closed. The post, believe me, I know that they do. They search letters. They search letters. They scan letters to for safety, but nobody is reading the cards you're sending for Hanukkah to your family and friends. This is not happening. Probably because they're not even sending cards anymore. They're just sending emails. But the point is that yes, there's no. Today, this is again very hard to understand. Perhaps this again. I don't think Aruch HaShulchan is just pulling it out of midair. I'm sure there is some way to understand this. That if the non-Jew is doing this, because now they view it as their work. So when they view it as their work, I understand why they might not go around saying I'm the shaliach of a Jew, because I'm doing this my job. I got paid and I have a job to do. And maybe, again, why you're not speaking, why lo yisaper l'shum adam, v'lo yo'em ha'michtav, I would, you're not showing it to them. Maybe because you're paid, there's an implied idea here of you paid for a service, and so I have to, and part of that is sort of respecting your letter and the privacy of your letter. I guess if you don't have that privacy, you don't have that payment, then he's saying, look, I'm going on behalf of the Jew. That he might say anyways. People ask him, "Oh, who are you? Where are you from?" And he said, "I'm delivering a letter for a Jew," as opposed to I'm just doing my work. And below your I'm not going to. Sorry, he might show them the letter. I guess because he doesn't feel a sense of responsibility and obligation to protect the letter because he's not really being paid and. That part just doesn't at the end doesn't click at the end. I can't put that together. But let's that's a different problem.
If we have, let's say I have an emergency and it comes up the next Friday.
Yeah.
I have no alternative, but I have to send it on Friday. Well, I can't. What's the fastest way to get it there? Okay, 2 to 3 nights. Send it out that's an emergency, but.
that's,
But whatever you were saying, that guy that opens his mouth about the Jew, I will tell you, in my mind, that is a person who's against the Yiddish, because he wants to make sure that everybody knows he's got
look,
that.
Michael, they wouldn't have this, they would have, this isn't just simply like, his anti-Semite or something like that. This isn't, there's something else going on here. I don't think that would have factored into the halacha here. There's some chiluk that I'm not fully, that's, I understand the words, but something is, the logic as Tommy said before, it seems so far-fetched that this is going to lead to these circumstances, so that we should have a chashash for them. I would just simply say probably what happened was here, this is my own, and I don't want to move on, is that once it was in the hands of a non-Jew and he's paid, the chashash goes away. Yes, there could be a Marisayan moment, to put it that way, right? It could come up. But once I've given you the job, the letter's out of my hands, out of my sight, out of my property. It could be that we keep that concern on the table when there's no fixed price, and when right in the situation where I am, where we do work out the price. So again, the letter is not, it's out of sight, out of mind. But the letter is really mine if I never did that. It's always, it's mine, and he is my shaliach directly. And so whenever somebody, it's my shaliach directly, so that's when the Marisayan, the rabbis kept that concern. It's all rabbinic. And so I always like to tell my students this at school. It's hey mamru for hey mamru. They made the rules when it comes to an Isser D'Rabbanan. And so in a certain circumstance, they didn't think it was relevant to continue that zera, because you did everything you could. You worked out a price, you sent it. Great. So it's not why are we concerned anymore? We won't be concerned for things that might happen. But when you didn't do all the things you're supposed to do, namely, get yourself out of the, make this person not a shaliach of the Jew, of yourself, then we continue to have these fears that the rabbis had of Marisayan, and we will be concerned for them. So I don't want to get too technical, because the rabbis may have just seen this as an opportunity to be lenient once you've done everything you can, and therefore we will no longer have our Marisayan concern. To me, that may be the most simple way to deal with this. Let's go on to Zion in the Mishnah Berurah. Okay. Again, if there is no postmaster and there is no fixed price, according to the Rambam, who was quoted here by the Shulchan Aruch, you can't even send this letter on Sunday, meaning you have a whole week to do it, because assuming the letter has to travel at least 7 days, many times letters took quite a while to get from one place to another, so you couldn't even send it on a Sunday. Take a look at Zion in the Mishnah Berurah. If, let's say, it's a very close journey from one town to where the letter is addressed, it's a 1 day's journey. Even if you send it on Monday or Tuesday, it should be fine. Because even if the person doesn't find the Yankel of the Jew in their house when they try to deliver it, and now they're going to have to walk around town. So yesh lo shehus har velalech. There's still plenty of time. Unlikely that between Wednesday and Shabbos you don't run into this Jew or find him or track him down through some neighbors. You will find the person. So that would be okay according to the Magen Avraham, even according to the Rambam. It's only if it's, I guess, a long journey where you're getting there right before Shabbos or right as Shabbos is starting, where it's even a 6 or 7 day journey. That's when it's going to be problematic. By the way, this may actually also answer the previous, not answer, but give us a hint towards the previous concern we were trying to understand, which is that if you don't find them in their house, right? So if you imagine, you don't find the person in the house, the way you're going to try to find this person to deliver the letter is you start asking around the neighborhood. Do you know where Yankel is? He lives. I know. I thought he lived over here. I can't find him. Do you know where he is? I need to give it to him, to his hands. I want to make sure I'm giving it to the right person and it's the right house. So you could imagine actually that you might show somebody especially if you're not speaking Hebrew, you don't read Hebrew, you might try to show somebody what exactly it says. Is it the right person? Is it going to the right place, etc., etc. So you could see a scenario where you open the letter for somebody if you're trying to help them. Say, here, it's going to this person. Can you help me track this person? Maybe they couldn't even speak the same language. They have to show them the letter so maybe they could understand. Anyways.
I don't think we can look at it in our context.
No,
today.
we can't. I certainly can't understand this in our context. Yeah,
The world was different.
100%. I'm sure this made a lot of sense. I really do in a different context. 100%. If there is a beidor in the city, then this concern goes away because everything comes through the postmaster. You're not going to have a fear of where is this person live because I'm just going to deliver it over to the postmaster. Everyone knows where the postmaster is. Okay. There is a person who's in charge of this all the time in that town. Not just sometimes he's there and sometimes he's not there and he goes to a different town. Postmeister. Today, this is what we call a postmeister. I think that's a postmaster.
Postmaster.
In the Tirgum at the bottom, I have it says Baal Beis Hadoar, the owner of the mail house. Okay. In big cities, there is usually a postmaster, even in those days. Sorry, a fly is attacking me. This person's job, he has be'itim yaduim, he has fixed hours, right? That he accepts between 9 and 5, and ulashalcham, and or maybe he's accepting from these hours and he delivers during those hours. So there's a system. There's a sign on the door of what hours he is doing what. Okay. Tes hasamuch lachoma. It has to be able to get to the city, to the first house inside the city walls. La'ir shanishtalach sham kolomar labayis rishon mibifnim. To the city that it is going to, or to this where it is addressed to, meaning it is supposed to be the first house within the walls of the city. Okay. Okay, so fine, because again, that circumvents the concern of the letter traveling outside of the Tum on Shabbos. If at least it can, in theory, get there to that first house, even though that's not the house of the person to whom the letter is being delivered. Nonetheless, once it's inside the city, it is inside the Tum of the person receiving the letter. Okay. Yud. But first we have to read the Ramah. So Tommy was saying this is, maybe understandable in a different context in history. Now maybe the Ramah was thinking the same way. Take a look. The Ramah writes back up on top. V'yesh matirin afilu lo katzatz. There are those that permit even in a situation where there's no fixed price, there's no stipulated price. V'afilu lo kviya beidar b'masa, and there's no postmaster there in the city. Im mishalcho b'yom chamishi o kodem lachein, if you send it on Thursday or any day earlier than Thursday. And there is upon who to rely if you need it. If there's a necessity, you can rely on this opinion, which is cited in the tour, that you can send it from Thursday. If it's sent Thursday or earlier, there's no concern at all. Why? Suddenly we're so makil. The Rambam thought that even from Sunday is a problem. Here we know it's going to happen. Maybe in a situation where I know that there will be a requirement of it happening on a Saturday. There have to be travel on Saturday. Take a look at Yud in the Mishnah Berurah. Yesh matirin ta'amaihu dechevan shelo amar lo Yisrael behet shelelech b'Shabbos. I didn't tell you explicitly to go on Shabbos. Ein lasor kiim samuch l'Shabbos. So it's only prohibited close to Shabbos. Why? The nira kishluchol shel Yisrael lazeh. Because it will appear, it's a little bit of Marasayan concern again here, it will appear as if he's a shaliach of the Jew when he decides to go on his own, meaning I gave him a job to do, and then close to Shabbos, it appears as if he's the shlich of the Jew, Amir le'eno Yehudi shvus, and telling a non-Jew to go and do this on Shabbos and walk outside the tchum and whatever it is that they are required in the travel is prohibited. I feel Amar lo be'erev Shabbos, lastos malacha b'Shabbos. And even if I tell you that you can't do this, sorry, that I tell you erev Shabbos to do this on Shabbos, that is not allowed. That is Amir Lenachli. Okay, that is a good important rule to keep in mind just in general. You can't tell a non-Jew to do something erev Shabbos on Shabbos. That is the same thing because they are doing it on my behalf. A non-Jew doing something on my behalf at my instruction is a problem. Aval muflag min Shabbos ksas. But if we just separate this one a little bit from Shabbos, lo mechsi ka'omer lo asem malacha b'Shabbos. It doesn't look like I told you to do this on Shabbos. If he does it on Shabbos, okay, he did it on Shabbos, but that was his own decision. And it doesn't even look like I told him to do it on Shabbos because I told him, this is really from my perspective, right? Because nobody else knows when I told him to do it or not do it. But it doesn't appear like you are doing it as a malach on my behalf. Therefore, we do not prohibit this unless it is erev Shabbos, and that is a quote from the Rosh.
Didn't we establish that I can bring in something to the cleaner on Friday,
Right.
but not say I want to pick it up Sunday morning?
Right.
But bring it in on Friday and say next Wednesday. So what's the
Right.
difference here? I'm giving him the letter on Friday and I'm saying deliver it whenever you want. So why are we concerned at this point differently than we were, say, with the cleaner?
So here, because he's saying that there's not even a fixed price, and meaning it's true with the dry cleaner, you don't pay up front. At least I don't, but you do when you drop it off. Even if I don't look or know, like there is a fixed price for a shirt, for a suit, for a tie. It's and if it's this kind of a job, that like there are prices. I don't think about it too much. I just drop it off. But in theory, when I give it to the dry cleaner, I'm agreeing I'm going to pay you X, Y, or Z for all the various shirts. But here, there is no price. We didn't talk about a price. So now the problem is, he looks like a shaliach of the Jew. He is a shaliach of the Jew, or at least looks like it. But I didn't tell him to do it on Shabbos. And if I don't do it, so this according to this lenient opinion, if I give the Jew, the non-Jew, this item, the letter on a Thursday or earlier, so we're not concerned about the whole people are going to think that he's a shaliach of the Jew, or that there's the ksav of the Jew. And I don't feel like he looks like I don't feel like I'm making him a shaliach from Thursday and earlier. It doesn't feel like I'm not even thinking about Shabbos. But if I give the letter on erev Shabbos, so it feels a little yucky. It's not actually, I'm not telling him to do it on Shabbos, but it feels yucky because it makes it feel like I'm making him a shaliach right before Shabbos. Because the reality is probably he's going to do it right after I tell him to do this, which means he's going to do this on Shabbos. That's a big problem from a Maris Ayin concern, but really Maris Ayin, sort of from my own perspective, what it feels like, which is interesting that such an opinion exists about Maris Ayin, sort of from my own perspective, but that it kind of feels a certain way. I don't know if you would call it Maris Ayin. It's more like it just kind of it feels wrong.
Can you back up for a second? I must have missed something. What is the problem with giving it to him, the postman, on Sunday?
It wouldn't be for the postman. It would be giving it to the non-Jew to
Right.
go to a town where there is no postman, because then he is going to have to search and search and search for Yankel of the Jew, to whom the letter is addressed. And the fear was that he would only get there at a certain point, and then it would take him forever to find it, and then he would still be looking on Shabbos for this person.
So what day can you do it? What day can you do it?
According
if Sunday doesn't.
According to the Rambam, you could never do it if you don't work out a price.
Right.
If you fix a price, then you can. Now, the Magen Avraham limited the Rambam's condition and said that even the Rambam would have agreed that if it was a one-day journey and it's Sunday, we're not concerned you're going to look for the guy for 5 days. It's going to take you forever to find him. You'll find him at some point. But, where the line is, where it's, a Wednesday, a one-day journey, now he arrives on Thursday, and maybe it could take you a whole 2 days to find the person. I have no idea. I'm not sure why it would take that long. Once you figure out where the person lives and you get the directions from somebody in town, you sit outside their house until they come back from wherever they were. Whatever. Again, as Tommy said, I think we can't fully appreciate this, living in the context that we live in. But nevertheless, this again, the Ramah even walked back a lot of the issues here by saying that from Thursday and earlier, there's no problem at all with any kind of mail at all, no matter what the conditions are. The one problem would be Friday, according to this Mekil opinion. But even that's not relevant in our context. Yud Aleph, afilu lil kviya ve'doar. In this lenient opinion, there's no postmaster. Afilu yadua shelo yuchal lahagia l'sham kodem Shabbos. And even if you know that the letter can't arrive there before Shabbos, the non-Jew can't get there. Gam kein shari l'de'azo. It's okay according to this very lenient opinion quoted by the Ramah. The kevan shu muflag min haShabbos lo mechzik shlucho. It's not really. It doesn't look like he doesn't feel like a shaliach because I gave it to him early enough in the week, and so from my perspective, it's not mechzik shlucho. Nobody who saw me giving the letter at the beginning, or whether myself, just by myself, it doesn't feel like he's my shaliach. So therefore, it is permissible. Again, this is a much different opinion than the Rambam. I don't know what the minhag is because this is not relevant anymore. So there's no minhag, I think, on this question. I think if it comes up for some reason, there's no reason you can't rely on the Ramah's kula here. But again, in our world, this is just not at all something that we deal with. At least in the developed countries. I don't know what's going on in undeveloped countries in the world, if there is still such a unsophisticated system, and that Jewish communities these days tend not to be in cities where there's no postmaster. So I think we're good, and I think there's usually a stamp you have to put on it and something that you have to pay. What time is it? I'm just looking here.
8:15.
15. Okay, so let's do the following then. We finished Aleph. Let's save Bays for next time. I was going to do it today, but that talks about the question of if you don't work out a price. Again, think about my dry cleaner example. There, it's actually a bad example. But let's say I just tell the non-Jew, I'm going to pay you. I give him the letter. I'll pay you. We'll work it out later what the money is, but I'm paying you. You're getting paid. But I don't tell you what you're getting paid. He doesn't know what he's getting paid. Do we consider that like that's kutzatz? That's I fix the prices. This is maybe not so relevant in the context of a letter, but when it comes to stipulating a price in other contexts, we're talking about kutzatz as being a very important piece sometimes of the puzzle when it comes to a non-Jew doing a job on your behalf. Is saying to the non-Jew, let's say if I walk into their shop and there isn't a fixed price, it's a little bit more like, it's negotiating. That's how you deal with it. And I say to him, I throw the thing on the counter 5 minutes before Shabbos. Here, I need you to fix this. I will pay you. I promise you, I will pay you. But we don't work out, what's the number. He didn't really fully assess what the issue is. So does that count as kutzatz? So that's going to be our topic for next time, and then from there also we will we'll talk about what happens if you pay the person by the day, every day for their journey there and back. But I'm not particularly makpid about when the journey happens. Now you understand, I might end up paying you for work you did on Shabbos. So how does that work with regards to paying you? If I end up paying you for one of the days that you traveled and one of your days that you traveled with Shabbos. So we will talk about that case again, also relevant, not just in the context of sending letters. So that's why it's not just for the sake of completeness that we do all this, but it actually will help us in understanding more broadly some halachic principles and topics. We are coming up to a very interesting. I lost them.
You still have the.
Oh, so there we go. Sorry, I have to go. My phone is telling me I have to go because someone was calling me. But
Okay.
we'll continue next time.